So the Mets, they went through a rough stretch where they were terrible, but, they win the series versus the Mariners. They're kind of turning things around just a little bit. Like, the offense has been there. You said they're in a playoff race. It's tough to say, like, oh, they need to win. It's like trying to trust teams in different sports at the end of the season. But the hitters are hitting right now. Lean into the Mets, lean into the Phillies. These teams have something to play for, and they're cooking right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I think what you saw last year is it's tough to say, oh, it's projectable. But I do think it's something that when you're taking shots here, you're looking for a bye-week coverage wide receiver on your roster or a guy that has upside who's young enough to grow into more of a role. I think the development of Bo Nix was stunningly good last year. If we can build on that again this year, I think Marvin Mims is a really good selection as the 57th wide receiver off the board.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
What does he do after he hits the home run? He walks over to the fan and he pats him on the back and gives him a high five. This is the same fan that's been going after him for the entire game. Dave Roberts after the game saying, hey, look, every once in a while, it's kind of funny to see Shohei, who's got this wonderful personality that we almost never see. It was great to see him do that with the fans.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's time to rise and grind. It is a glorious Tuesday morning in the month of September. That means only one thing. It's college football season and the start of the NFL season. Did you enjoy your week one in college football? I absolutely did. You know what I loved even more? My Miami Hurricanes absolutely beating up the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I understand it was only a 3-point game, but it is what it is. Did you watch last night Bill Belichick and the UNC Tar Heels get embarrassed by TCU? Did you also watch maybe a resurgence of Florida football with Florida State knocking off the Alabama Crimson Tide? Did you also watch Major League Baseball yesterday? The Philadelphia Phillies and the Brewers in an epic battle. Juan Soto went nuts for the New York Mets yesterday, and a full slate to break down today as well. We got everything you need on the early line to get you through and set the table for the rest of your SportsGrid day and your SportsGrid week. I'm Donnie Rightside, joined by Joe Ranieri, and I'm telling you, Joe, I'm ready to go today.
I am too, Donnie. It was a heck of a finish to week one last night in college football, and we've got ourselves week one of the NFL season just around the corner.
Oh, yes, we do. And also, the biggest news across the sports landscape as we like to get to our 7 and 7 topics includes Micah Parsons. Joe, maybe he wasn't lying in Dallas. Hey, man, my back hurts. That's usually code for my contract isn't right and I'm not getting out there, so you can't force me to practice. But it seems like Micah Parsons getting ready for week number 1 might have to take an injection to play, Joe. Bleacher Report, Micah Parsons has been dealing with an L4, L5 facet joint sprain in his back. Do we think that's actually true? Do we think that's actually false? Do we think that he's going to be ready to go, Joe? I mean, I don't know what I'm seeing here out of the Green Bay Packers.
This was interesting news coming out right over the weekend, Donnie. It's like, okay, so now you're going to start the season with a back issue that you might have to take epidurals for. I mean, this can't be good news for the Green Bay Packers here. We'll see where it leads to, but maybe Jerry's not as stupid as we all thought he was there.
No, I mean, look, he's got a lot of money, and the last thing you want to know is what's going on with somebody's back with all of that money. You want the clean slate to start the season. Doesn't look like that's going to happen for Parsons, but we'll see him on the field nonetheless. Another back issue. What's going on in the NFL? The Los Angeles Rams and their superstar quarterback, championship quarterback, Matthew Stafford. He should play in week 1. That's not a good start.
Well, that's good news if you are the Rams, right, Donnie? I mean, that's exactly what you want to hear is that Stafford is good to go, that the back issue is behind him. But much like Micah Parsons, when you're dealing with, a player with back issues that never really goes away the more you get hit, does it, Donnie?
No, it certainly doesn't. And I'd like to say, we're older gentlemen here. Matthew Stafford is an older gentleman in the NFL. Back doesn't regenerate during an NFL season. It usually gets worse. Something to keep an eye on for at least game one for the Rams and into the early parts of September. How about more quarterback talk here at the New York Giants? We know Russ is going to be the starter. Are we duking it out, Joe Ranieri, for who's going to be that backup quarterback here? Is it going to be Jackson Dart, who I do think it should be, or is it going to be Jameis Winston, the veteran, in the backfield there for the New York Giants?
Yeah, well, it's we've always said, right, that it's Jackson Dart's franchise to begin with. The question is, Donnie, when do we see him here? And the kid made a case to be the number 2. It's not like he didn't. So will Dable stick to the plan and let him hold the clipboard on the sideline, or will they thrust him in the minute that Russ becomes Russ and turns into a pumpkin?
Oh, we got questions about week 1 in college football. We'll expound on it much later in the show multiple times, because what actually happened? And the questions were Texas, Arch Manning, generational talent. I didn't see it out there on Saturday. You take a look at the Alabama Crimson Tide. Let's get it started. Kalen DeBoer's second year. They looked horrendous. Or was Florida State just that good? The Miami Hurricanes knocking off the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as they usually do in South Florida. What a week number 1, Joe, in college football that we just completed.
Great, and I mean great start to it, right? All the hype around Ohio State and Texas. And again, a lot of very unproven quarterbacks that we had a lot of questions with versus kind of the old guard, like in Carson Beck going up against the young guy, CJ Carr. We saw this all weekend long. And freshman quarterbacks, Donnie, with little experience, guess what? Look like freshman quarterbacks with little experience when it all came down to it.
I mean, come on now. Some of these scores, though, Joe. 14-7, Ohio State, Texas. 17-10, LSU, Clemson. What was the deal with some of these lower-scoring games? Well, week number 1 is usually tough. When you play tough opponents, the defense is usually ahead of the game here than the offense. We'll see some of those offense start to come to fruition over the next couple weeks. No doubt about that. His offense didn't have any problems yesterday. It was the New York Mets, 10-8 over the Tigers. By the way, a couple good series yesterday. Mets, Tigers. You take a look also the Phillies and the Brewers getting down to business. 6, count them, 6 RBI from Juan Soto yesterday.
Yeah, he was on it yesterday, Donnie, and they needed him because they barely won once again as the bullpen, couldn't hold the lead. Manaea was getting absolutely crushed, but it was Soto to save the day. I mean, he single-handedly kept the Mets in that game, and a good win heading into this week against, one of the best teams in the American League. So it's a pretty good litmus test, I think, here for the Mets.
Come on now, down the stretch they come, Joe. We're in the month of September, only a few short weeks left to go before October baseball, which means playoff baseball. Also playoffs, college football, expanded playoff. Everybody should get a chance. The North Carolina Tar Heels last night, and if you wanted a solo Monday Night Football game for a debut of a quote-unquote new franchise, that is the Tar Heels here with Bill Belichick, the start was great. The atmosphere was fantastic. The 7-0 lead, and then TCU happened and blew the doors off the Carolina Tar Heels last night. My God, not a great start for Bill Belichick. Those backers are leaving the stadium at night going like, what did we invest in? Is this what we have something to look forward to? Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know, Donnie. At what point do you think in that game last night did Belichick go, why am I doing this? Like, why am I here in college? I mean, did you see the star-studded people, like the list, the red carpet that were there at that game? Like the who's who of North Carolina. Looked great after the opening drive, but yeesh, that was not good, Bill, not good.
48-14 on your home turf at that point. That is absolutely outrageous that happened, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the show, so certainly stay tuned here. Tennis world still going on at the U.S. Open, and we got Naomi Osaka knocking off Coco Gauff yesterday. One day closer till we get to the Final Four in tennis.
There was a lot of hope for Coco, but unfortunately it did not. Well, it just didn't come to fruition. A lot of people thought she might have a comeback in her yesterday, but she did not. But is Alcaraz and Sinner in the final yet, Donnie? When can we watch this, actually?
Yeah, speed it up. Venus is calling for Serena to show up. Watch her in the doubles tournament. We'll see if that happens yesterday. Other big news around the sporting world. Did you watch, by the way, in Boston, Trevor Story's home run yesterday? 306 feet around the pesky pole that needed a review to make sure that the guy caught it, didn't catch it, or dropped it here, Joe. What a wild scene at Fenway yesterday.
Yeah, pretty big shots here across the board all weekend long there, Don. You got to love get that little bit of humidity while it's left and the heat, because they're going to be playing for a World Series in November and December, it feels like at this point, Don. So the ball might not be traveling as far come the postseason.
Yeah, by the way, the ball was actually traveling yesterday in Houston. Surprise, surprise, the Houston Astros, Joe, played at 8 runs in a game. That's more than I had to think for the first half of the entire season, Joe.
Yeah, didn't expect the Astros to score because, well, they don't anymore.
I enjoyed it yesterday. I'm telling you, I rode with them for a couple games. They disappointed me so greatly. Said the numbers make sense yesterday, Joe. I'm going to go with it again. They opened in the first inning, 2 runners on, 0 for 2 and runners in scoring position. I was like, you got to be kidding me, boys. Don't do it again. But they didn't. And we're here on the early line. We're going to talk college football next. Texas, what the heck happened on offense with Arch? Next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The hype is real. It's the early line. It's a Tuesday. My goodness, a week number 1 in college football works into week number 2. And understand this, Joe. I got to get this out to the people. We love college football. Enjoy it while it's here. You saw week 0. It's done. You saw week 1. It's done. Wait, when did football season start? Yeah, we're going to head into week number 2, which is really week number 3. But we saw some titanic battles in week number 1, Joe. I know you talked about it a lot last week. What a gift from the football gods. Right off the bat, let's get the people exactly what they want. Let's see superstar teams, blue blood programs, and quarterbacks that we figure are going to excite us right away. We got that, at least on paper. 14-7. The Ohio State Buckeyes, number 3 in the country, knocked off number 1 Texas Longhorns. We saw all week long, hey, Ohio State's a favorite. Now it's back to Texas. Game day, Joe. We saw it flip right on back to Ohio State. The defense was incredible. But my question I need to ask you is, what were we watching from Arch Manning, and will it get better, Joe?
Well, you know it's terrible when you're watching the pregame and then you go after the game. You know what? Arch is actually a better actor than he is a college quarterback. Not for nothing, because he was on every other commercial during the pregame. It was Arch this, Arch that. It was, and then when I'm watching him on the field and I'm going, yeah, maybe you should stick to doing commercials and acting, because maybe, just maybe, when you only have, 30 yards at the break, less than 30 yards passing at intermission, that he wasn't throwing passes more than 4 yards. Like, you got to be kidding me here. A couple of empty netters and prevent defense at the end. Big deal. Like, there's a lot of work to do with Texas and Mr. Manning there.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some other situations with quarterbacks, but this was this one that, like, we kept hearing, Joe. And as a public, and we're analysts at times, we're handicappers at times. Something just didn't sit right with me. Like, Arch Manning coming out of high school with all those accolades, he's going to choose Texas. And maybe you said to yourself, okay, let him go to Texas. We don't want him to start year one. We just want him to learn. And if he's a really good quarterback, we could put him in 3 to 4 games. Don't burn his red shirt and, see how it goes. But then you get to year number 2 and like, oh, no. This has always been in the process, not going to start year 2. I said, what quarterback that is a generational talent goes to a top program and you're telling him he will not play for 2 years? Not because he's unbelievably good and that's why he's not going to play, which never makes any sense, but he's still on the learning curve. You're right about this, Joe. I watched that game against Ohio State. Now, granted, Ohio State is a phenomenal defense. They just won the national championship. It's a road game. I get it. But, Joe, I wasn't worried about the 45-yard downfield deep pass. I was worried about the 8-yard cross that was wide open, that Arch looked like his mechanics were all out of whack and his feet were out of place. That's what I struggle with right now. It wasn't Arch's 17 of 30 for $170, like, oh, I hope it gets better. Joe, he was missing the layups. That's an issue.
The minute the game opened up and he had a wide open wide receiver on an out route there that he one-hopped him, I went, oh boy, yeah, this is nerves. I don't know. I mean, he had a number of those kinds of throws where he didn't lead the receivers through behind them. Now, listen, give Ohio State and Matt Patricia's defense a ton of credit here, because they were throwing a whole lot of, it was clear that the coaching staff at Texas and Manning were not expecting what that defense was throwing at him. They were mixing up the looks. They were putting pressure on him. Yeah, there was a lot going on for that first game. But what, again, Donnie, what do you expect? Inexperienced quarterbacks, I don't care how long he's been there, until you start a game in the shoe and you are the man, the starting quarterback, you don't know what you're going to get from these guys. The good news is he's got 3 cupcakes to work this thing out before he's got to play anybody of any meaning again.
You bring up such a good point there. We're going to lose focus on Texas for the next couple of weeks. It's going to blow teams out, and then they're going to reappear as like number 5 in the country, and Arch Manning is ready. It's a tough situation. You want to give the benefit of the doubt, but for so much accolades that we've been hearing about, you just expected greatness off the bat, and it was like, ooh, I don't know about this. And maybe Pop was right. He needs to stay in school and even another year here. Come on now before he gets to the NFL. Other hot topics out here, which includes Ohio State. Joe, 26 straight. Or 26 straight, I think it was at home openers. What's the graphic say? Or 26 straight first game victories here. That's how you start a season right there. There it is, 26 straight season opening wins. That's how you feel good about your season, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly what you want to do. You want to defend home. And again, a lot of new faces, a lot of new look on Ohio State. No different. I mean, Ohio State has, and that was the big argument, right? Ohio State's got fewer, continuity, less guys that have been there, a whole lot of new faces, both sides of the ball, new quarterback, yada, yada, yada. And ultimately, we kept hearing about the Heisman wide receiver, Jeremiah. Where was he exactly in that game? Because I don't think he had anything to do with it.
No, defense was fantastic for Ohio State. Like, Sane just did what he needed to do, but you saw that Texas defense really clamp down on that running game for Ohio State without Henderson and certainly Judkins. But that is a win for Ohio State. They're number 1 for a reason. Let's set the table on this one, Joe. Florida State and Alabama. This line, 13.5, 14, depending where you're shopping on game day. Broke this game down all week long. My thought process was, I wonder if Florida State gets blown out, is Mike Norvell going to get like a buyout immediately and it doesn't matter? Florida State came prepared. And, Joe, this was no fluke. Florida State was better than Alabama.
No, it wasn't. But the problem here is the problem, Donnie. We should have known something was up when this line never got over 14, because a lot of guys I know in their power ratings had Alabama 17 and a half point favorites, and it never got past the 13 and a half. But now my question is, after watching that, Donnie, are we looking at just a awful Alabama team that is so overrated it's disgusting? Or are we talking about one of the most underrated football teams? Sadly, I mean, a team that won 2 games a year ago with a whole new roster on both sides of the ball and a new quarterback with experience. Are we underestimating Florida State? Only time will tell, but the better football team in that game from the start to the finish was Florida State. Better coached, more enthusiasm. I don't know what's going on with Alabama.
Yeah, Bama goes right down the field, takes the lead, and it was all Florida State after that. Tommy Castellanos, only 14 pass attempts there because he didn't need to throw for any more than 152 yards. 49 carries, 230 yards, an average of 4.7 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Nick Saban, oh, Gussie, back in football. We'll be back.
Alabama, Florida State, years Georgia opened with Clemson, and then Oregon and LSU and Les Miles opened with Oregon and smacked them around. Alabama knocked around USC and Wisconsin and Va-Tech for years. The SEC fears nobody.
Stop it. I love the SEC. Put them on. By the way, if we just had an only SEC college football playoff show, it would be absolutely wonderful. How about that out there, SEC backers?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
So the Mets, they went through a rough stretch where they were terrible, but, they win the series versus the Mariners. They're kind of turning things around just a little bit. Like, the offense has been there. You said they were in a playoff race. It's tough to say, like, oh, they need to win. It's like trying to trust teams in different sports at the end of the season. But the hitters are hitting right now. Lean into the Mets, lean into the Phillies. These teams have something to play for, and they're cooking right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I think what you saw last year is it's tough to say, oh, it's projectable, but I do think it's something that when you're taking shots here, you're looking for a bye week coverage wide receiver on your roster or a guy that has upside who's young enough to grow into more of a role. I think the development of Bo Nix was stunningly good last year. If we can build on that again this year, I think Marvin Mims is a really good selection as the 57th wide receiver off the board.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
What does he do after he hits the home run? He walks over to the fan and he pats him on the back and gives him a high five. This is the same fan that's been going after him for the entire game. Dave Roberts after the game saying, hey, look, every once in a while, it's kind of funny to see Shohei, who's got this wonderful personality that we almost never see. It was great to see him do that with the fans.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's bad in Tuscaloosa right now. I even heard the chats, Joe, if you're going around Reddit or you're just following social media. Don't give the Alabama football team any more NIL money. Just give it to Nate Oates and the basketball team. What happened, Alabama? I'll tell you what happened on Saturday. Alabama suffered its first Week 1 loss in 24 years. Alabama is used to success, and it's success early in the season. They got hammered, and there are a lot more question marks that are going to start now. Alabama now to make the playoffs is plus money at a plus 176 price. The no is a minus 220 price. We love, Joe, week 0, week 1 overreactions. Based on what we saw last year from Alabama and coming into this year as 2 touchdown favorites against a Florida State team that had just about a brand new team, you had no idea what to expect. And this is what we got Alabama. What are we thinking, Joe, for the rest of the year for the Crimson Tide?
Well, that's the big question, right? Because obviously Alabama gets the biggest fraud award for week 1 as a nearly 2-touchdown favorite. And we watch good old Gussie there run the ball right down their throats, and also watch very unusual. This didn't happen in the Nick Saban era. You don't miss 14 tackles as a 13.5-point favorite. And that is exactly what Alabama did. They looked outclassed. So now what happens in Tuscaloosa? It was funny. I don't know that I'd be going out to eat if I was Kalen DeBoer. I'd have somebody eat your food or taste it first, because there will be riots in the streets if they got another loss like this as a big favorite. Don't forget, this is off the heels of a year ago losing to Vanderbilt as a 100-point favorite too as well.
Oh.
You know, Nick Saban didn't lose these games. You can't lose these games, Kalen DeBoer. If this is what you asked for, you wanted it. His buyout, though, Donnie, $70 million. So where is he going? That's the problem, Alabama fans. $70 million, but they're crazy enough just to write him the check to get out if they can get Saban back.
Call those boosters up. Tuscaloosa, not used to being Tuscalooser at this point, which is what they are. Let's keep it in the SEC. The LSU Tigers were down by a touchdown at the break to the Clemson Tigers in the Battle of Death Valley. Final score, LSU 17, Clemson 10, 14 unanswered in the second half. And my goodness, that LSU defense held the Clemson running game, Joe, to 20 carries for 31 yards. That's 1.6 yards per carry. Defense, defense, defense. And Brian Kelly gets a victory opening weekend against a quality opponent.
Yeah, I love the under in this game. I thought that's exactly what we were going to get. 2 quality defenses. I mean, folks do not understand. LSU and Brian, they went out of their way to recruit in the portal to solidify that defense. That was the number one priority. And you know what? They came out with the highest grade of winning the portal in the transfer game. And it showed in a big way on the defensive side of the ball there. And listen, if you're Clemson, if you can't run the ball, okay, Cade Klubnik is not going to throw the ball 40 times a game and you're winning anything, especially when they lost their best wide receiver, I think, in the first quarter there. He was out of the game. So LSU, they'll get better offensively, but that defense, that's what could carry this team to a SEC championship in the playoffs.
Yeah, certainly a tough game there, no doubt about it. Touchdown lead at the break. You're at home. You're Clemson. You want to win that. Weren't able to get it done. We'll see both of those teams. They're going to be playoff teams at the end of the season. It's apparent showing that. Both 2 good quarterbacks here. We'll see how it goes. Talking about good quarterbacks, how about Carson Beck? Had some success at the University of Georgia, goes to Miami, and the Miami Hurricanes knock off the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday Night Football, 27-24. Carson Beck looked every bit the point. Doesn't look like that elbow's an issue at all. Some younger guys stepping up, a completely rebuilt wide receiver position for the Miami Hurricanes, which saw Malachi Toney 6 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown, and an unbelievable highlight reel, maybe best of the season catch. C.J. Daniels, 5 for 46 and a touchdown, a one-handed touchdown that took an interception away and added 7 points to Miami. They held on in this one, but they got the win. Top 10 teams going at it. Miami was the better team.
Well, clearly, you know, we had a big situation where a very experienced quarterback from Miami going up against a redshirt freshman in C.J. Carr. And you could tell, Donnie, when the game mattered the most, you could tell who, no big deal, game is tied at the end with Carson Beck. And then you could tell C.J. Carr, though, if I'm Notre Dame, I loved what I saw from this kid. This kid has got the arm. He's mobile enough. He can make plays happen. You got to get Jeremiah Love and Price more involved in the game plan now.
You absolutely have to do that here. Now, also in the next segment, we're going to continue some of this talk here with the Miami Hurricanes and the Fighting Irish, and also recap a big weekend in college football, then flip it over to the NFL. It's how we do it on the early line. Action-packed is what we do right here on the SportsGrid Network.
Alabama, Florida State, years Georgia opened with Clemson, and then Oregon and LSU and Les Miles opened with Oregon and smacked them around. Alabama knocked around USC and Wisconsin and Va Tech. for years. The SEC fears nobody.
Stop it. I love the SEC. Put them on. By the way, if we just had an only SEC college football playoff show, it would be absolutely wonderful. How about that out there, SEC backers?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
So the Mets, they went through a rough stretch where they were terrible, but, they win the series versus the Mariners. They're kind of turning things around just a little bit. Like, the offense has been there. You said they're in a playoff race. It's tough to say, they need to win. It's like trying to trust teams in different sports at the end of the season. But the hitters are hitting right now. Lean into the Mets, lean into the Phillies. These teams have something to play for, and they're cooking right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I think what you saw last year is it's tough to say, it's projectable, but I do think it's something that when you're taking shots here, you're looking for a bye week coverage wide receiver on your roster or a guy that has upside who's young enough to grow into more of a role. I think the development of Bo Nix was stunningly good last year. If we can build on that again this year, I think Marvin Mims is a really good selection as the 57th wide receiver off the board.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
What does he do after he hits the home run? He walks over to the fan and he pats him on the back and gives him a high five. This is the same fan that's been going after him for the entire game. Dave Roberts after the game saying, hey, look, every once in a while, it's kind of funny to see Shohei, who's got this wonderful personality that we almost never see. It was great to see him do that with the fans.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Let's get back to South Beach quickly here, Joe, and take a look at that Miami Hurricanes 27-24 victory. You'll take that. The game actually went over. The Miami Hurricanes were a dog. They covered that and won outright. So moneyline winners, congratulations. But some things always pop up here, Joe. You look at coaching staffs, right? Like Notre Dame has a top 10 team. They told you all, week and a half long while the press was hitting. What do you expect? CJ Carr, unbelievable. So talented, which he might be. And boy, he makes all the right decisions. He's not going to have any issues walking into Hard Rock in a hostile environment and playing well. And they treated him with kid gloves like he never played football before and was throwing 3-yard passes for 3 full quarters. When they finally let him open it up just a little bit, he made some plays, but it was maybe too little too late, even though they tied it up late. And then for the Miami Hurricanes, I'm a big-time Hurricanes fan. Look, you can even see in my background, there's Sebastian Yivas over there, the Miami Hurricanes books. I grew up on the Hurricanes. But you know what? It's always interesting to me is Mario is a great recruiter. The questions always come, Joe, what is he going to do in game? The end of the game, they're up 14 points in the second half. The game is tied. They go down the field. Struggling, moving the football in the second half, taking your foot off the gas pedal, playing for a long field goal. It worked. They made the field goal. But I find myself saying, okay, good week number 1 win. Joe, is this going to come back here for the Miami Hurricanes where it's like, Mario, what are you doing here playing this way? And you have a veteran quarterback, not a rookie quarterback. Let him spin in the second half, right?
Listen, they did exactly what they needed to do on a national stage, right, in prime time, Donnie, to continue to feed the narrative that the U is back. And they have done this with Mario Cristobal and others a lot over the last decade plus here, where all of a sudden they'll rattle off 9-10 wins in a row, beat a Notre Dame, right? And then all of a sudden the wheels fall off. So while I think it's a great win for Miami, and I think anybody that can take a kicker that went to FAU last year and was 2 of 7 on field goals and put him in that spot to kick the game-winning field goal in the rain, in the elements at Hard Rock Stadium, I mean, maybe, just maybe, Mario Cristobal pushed all the right buttons on all the right transfers and the right guys. And with that quarterback, Carson Beck, who calm, cool, collect. I mean, he went 25-3 at Georgia as a starter. Why are we thinking he's all of a sudden the wheels have fallen off, Donnie, is beyond me.
Exactly. Well, we went 25-3 at like Hawaii playing in the Mountain West. Like, no, he went 25-3 in the SEC and got injured last year. Good performance by him. And also, been a long time since those Notre Dame Fighting Irish went down to South Florida and beat the Miami Hurricanes. Been a minute now at this point, and maybe that played into it a little bit. But Mario gets the victory over Notre Dame. But by the way, Joe, quick point on Notre Dame. They'll be fine. I look at that schedule and go, okay, even if they lose to Texas A&M in their next game and fall out of the top 25, this might be the easiest schedule I've ever seen in college football. And it always gets to the point. Notre Dame needs to be forced into a conference, because when you can schedule the way they schedule and automatically get yourself in the playoffs, it would be like, let's just say, the Dallas Cowboys of the NFL saying to themselves, I want out of the NFC East. I'm going to schedule all the low-rung teams in the NFL and put myself as the number 1 seed. How does this happen with Notre Dame? Why can't they? Why aren't they forced into joining a conference, Joe?
Because they're Notre Dame. I mean, they are the prince of college football. Nobody has played more football in college than Notre Dame. They've been around a lot longer than anybody else. So between them, the Navies, and the Armies, you're playing games in the 1800s. You get a little bit of say in 2025 as to whether or not you're going to want to play in a conference. But your point is interesting. I think a lot of times it's harder if you're Notre Dame without being in a conference, because, yes, all those cupcakes you have scheduled, you know how hard it is to win every game you're supposed to win, Donnie, with a freshman quarterback? I mean, it's not easy. If they beat Texas A&M, you can forgive them Miami, because Miami, in all likelihood, is going to be a very good team. There's not going to be any shame in losing to Miami game 1. But you can't lose to Miami and Texas A&M and then maybe trip up on one of these cupcakes you got scheduled. Then we'll never hear about Notre Dame for the rest of the year.
We'll see. Long season to go. They lost last year to NIU at home. It's like, oh, man, fire Marcus Freeman. They went on a great run right up to the national championship game. Maybe they can do it again. But as Joe pointed out, they don't have like a 6th-year veteran like they had last year. They have a redshirt freshman that's just getting used to playing at this time. If we do move on and take a look at some other notable scores across the college football landscape, Tennessee 45-26 over Syracuse in a neutral site game. And the one that I get a kick out of the most, Joe, Penn State 46, Nevada 11. He said, well, they won easily by 35 points. That point spread was in the low 40s. James Franklin is notorious for covering those spreads against teams you can kick around. But he's got to be absolutely out of his mind. A late touchdown by Nevada in that game. We saw James Franklin ice kickers when they're up 35-plus points here. They don't cover the spread. UGA easy victory over Marshall. Michigan 34-17 over New Mexico. And then last night again, 48-14. TCU paced UNC. Week 1, Joe, I can't get enough. I'm already ready for week number 2.
Well, yeah, again, in Penn State, to your point, though, I mean, they don't really play a meaningful game until what, week 4? I mean, you know, if I'm Franklin, too, with such a, you have such an experienced roster on both sides of the ball, you're not trying to set an example. You have everything to lose and nothing to gain by laying it all out on the line in the 3rd and 4th quarter against Nevada, because you've got 2 more Nevadas coming up here that you're going to blow the doors out. So maybe, just maybe, Franklin with this kind of roster is like, yeah, let's just win the games, let's stay healthy, and let's get ready for the Big Ten.
Got a good quarterback and 2 really good running backs and a good football team. We'll see if they can take down the Big Ten and maybe be able to knock off Ohio State. I'll tell you who's knocking off everything here. You want to go out and have a send-off show. You know how you do it? Lee Corso. It's easy to say, like, oh, I'm going to pick, 45-point favorite here and win it. Lee Corso went 6 of 6, and those picks were Ohio State, Texas. Let's call it a pick 'em. Tennessee was a favorite over Syracuse. He had Tennessee. Florida State was a 2-touchdown dog against Alabama. He goes Florida State and wins it. LSU was a 4.5-point dog against Clemson on the road. He picked them. South Carolina was a favorite, but then Miami, underdog at home, and picked them. 6 for 6 for Lee Corso, going out in style on his final show, Joe.
Yeah, and I think the whole headgear record, too, was right around, what, Donnie, 62% over the years. I mean, you'll take that any time there if you can pull that many games off like that. And, way to go. I would have loved to have seen him just pull out the Texas headgear in the shoe just to see what would have had. That would have been the ultimate, but great job across the board with the dedication and good old Lee. And he goes out a winner, which is what we all hope to do at some point, Donnie.
He certainly does there. And again, putting on the headset here, he's not putting on the headset like, okay, Alabama, Hawaii, 40-point favorite. He was putting on the headset and had an unbelievable winning percentage in the biggest games of the day. Fantastic stuff for Lee Corso. Enjoy your retirement. Over to some NFL news and notes here. Micah Parsons, we talked about at the top of the hour, Joe. Are we worried about his back injury? Like, if you have to take injections just to get onto the field, something might be looming here. And also, Won't the Packers not do their due diligence? Are we making too big of a story out of this or not enough of a story out of this, Joe?
Well, again, anytime it's a back injury, you need to be concerned. I mean, I don't care. I mean, he's 26 years old. He'll heal better than most. But the reality is, once a back injury, Donnie, always a back injury. It doesn't go away. And the fact that you haven't even hit anybody yet, and we're talking epidurals. I mean, this is not a good situation at all.
No, it's not like, hey, my ankle just needs to get a little bit better. Like, the back is like the worst injury you can have outside of like an ACL, because it seems like once you hurt it, Joe, it never goes away. It can spring up at any moment as a debilitating injury. Dallas Cowboys news, unlike Micah Parsons, they didn't want to sign. They signed Deron Bland to a big deal, locking up one of their cornerbacks of the future here, Joe.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got all this money now, so you might as well lock up somebody here, and he's well deserved. I mean, listen, got to lock up your secondary there. I mean, I don't think anybody has more pick sixes than he does over the last 3 years, first 3 years in the league. He's a big part of the Cowboys' future, and they locked him up for, I think, a pretty decent price.
Yeah, they did. By the way, other extensions out there. Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers gets his extension from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And also, Devon Achane expected to play week number 1. And Najee Harris, I guess he can see again, Joe. Expected to suit up in week number 1 there for the Chargers. We'll see if he makes it. Major League Baseball is on deck next. Some wild games over a wild weekend next. NFL's heaviest player in history cut by Tampa. His name was Desmond Watson. Did you see any the highlights? His highlights were walking up and down the field as opposed to doing gassers, and that's how he was supposed to lose weight, Joe. How about that?
They really tried to get the guy. I mean, they really did. They put a lot of energy and effort trying to get this guy underweight and athletic enough to make a difference, but he just couldn't do it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
That number last year was a loser, comfortably. Jeremiah Smith in the regular season had 934 receiving yards, 10 regular season touchdowns. He had a phenomenal, and I mean a phenomenal, college football playoff, despite only having 1 catch for 3 yards against Texas. That is how good he was in those other 3 games.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Netflix is back in a big way. They get Home Run Derby. What else is in store?
Yeah, Craig, we told you they had a great shot at it, and if they do. Now, the deal's not done yet because there's some last-minute things. However, if the deal is done, Netflix gets Home Run Derby, Peacock and NBC get Sunday Night Baseball, and they also get the Sunday afternoon package that Peacock originally had 3 years ago, and Roku's had the last 2 years.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Basically, their whole entire year is going to come down to the Ohio State game. I would be surprised if they were to lose any game leading up to that. So them to go undefeated is 12-1 in the regular season. That's a regular season play. So I think that's possible to go 12-0 at 12-1. To win the Big Ten championship, I think is a 9-1 play is a good number to take, because if they're in the game, we can hedge off of it.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Labor Day's over. It's okay, people. We got you covered. A little bit sluggish heading into the work week. You shouldn't be. Why? Because it's football week. It's game week in the NFL. Thursday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, SportsGrid Network. Like a marriage. It's a marriage made in heaven. It's Donnie Wright's out at Show Ranieri. We'll get to those topics in the NFL in hour number 2 and continue our assault on week 1 of the football season. But understand this. Major League Baseball is still going on. There's still money to be made. There's still moves that have to be made. Like, oh, you want to make the playoffs? Yeah, start winning some baseball games. Oh, you want to have comeback victories? Fantastic. Let's see what happens in the month of September. But before we get there, Joe, pitchers still changing teams at this point. Walker Buehler started out with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like, whoa, Looks like we have our next Clayton Kershaw. This guy's going to be here for 15 years and dominate. Arm injuries, availability in check, goes to Boston, starts pitching okay, then blows up, gets cut. The Philadelphia Phillies actually signed Walker Buehler because why? They need a little bit of help and some depth in the rotation for the month of September. He heads to the Phillies with a 5.45 ERA. This isn't the Walker Buehler that we think you're getting there from the Los Angeles Dodgers days, but maybe he can help with a couple extra innings to save some of those arms before the playoffs begin, Joe.
Well, to me, that's what this is all about, Donnie, right? It's about being able to eat up some innings in the final 3.5 weeks of the regular season here, get to use them. I'm kind of shocked that the Red Sox just let him walk away like they did, because it's not like the Red Sox aren't in a battle for a postseason berth. And they could absolutely use him as a buffer to maybe not throw as many innings for Crochet or some of these other guys. I'm shocked they let him walk, because he's going to do exactly for the Phillies what he could have done for the Red Sox.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. And again, I think like a 5th or 6th starter, extra rotation guy that's going to start, I believe he'd get his first start this coming week. We'll see what happens in the Philadelphia Phillies with Walker Buehler. But chasing down the Philadelphia Phillies, hopefully, as I like to say, is the New York Mets. They had a big win yesterday, Joe. 10-8 over the Detroit Tigers, which saw a lot of offense from Juan Soto. How about Juan Soto? 2 of 3 at the plate, scored 2 runs, 6 RBI, which included a home run and also had a walk. Batting average only 257, but the man does get on base. Big time win for the Mets over the Detroit Tigers in their own building.
Yeah, it was funny. Tom Vecchio and I were on yesterday for Labor Day in-game live before that game started, and we pointed out that Soto's record against Charlie Morton, I think he was 8 of 15 with 3 home runs and like 23 at bats. So anytime home run for Soto at 4-1 was a pretty good bet. And sure enough, I wish I would have seen if they had a grand slam opportunity there, because he was just lighting them all up yesterday. That is what Juan Soto brings to the table for the Mets. If you can get more of that from him. The problem is, I think the Mets have to score 10 runs a game, Donnie. I don't see them winning a 2-1 game. That's the problem with the Mets.
Yeah, guys are trying to lean like Sean Manaea and company. They're just not getting it done here. So the Mets, yes, look like they have to win shootouts most of the time. A team that's trying to chase down the New York Mets, it's the Cincinnati Reds. They picked up a victory yesterday over the Toronto Blue Jays 5-4, which saw Hunter Green coming off that IL. He's looking sharp. 6 1/3 innings pitched, only 1 earned run given up and 7 strikeouts, lowering his seasonal ERA to 2.70. But this is the 3rd loss in the last 4 games for the Toronto Blue Jays, when you're trying to stave off the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. Not playing great baseball for the Jays. They dropped a game yesterday.
No, the Jays have a few issues. Number one, their road numbers are awful. They are a different team at the road than the Rogers Center. And B, they have a bullpen problem, Donnie. They melted away again and gave the game away late to the Reds when it was so easy. I mean, they did a great job of coming back, winning that game, and then the bullpen comes in and once again blows the lead and the game. That is a big issue for the Toronto Blue Jays right now.
Certainly is. Bigger issues, too. The Yankees on their heels and the Boston Red Sox. The Sox pick up a victory yesterday, 6-4 over the Cleveland Guardians, which saw Aroldis Chapman, yes, that Aroldis Chapman, late 30s, get his, 28th save of the season. His ERA on the year, Joe, 1.00. The Sox win this game 4-14 with runners in scoring position. Could have had more runs in this one, but 6-4 final. The Red Sox will take that, and they love the fact the Jays lost yesterday.
Yeah, and Bayo wasn't even good yesterday. In fact, he was all over the place, and that's usually he's usually as steady, as rock steady as they've been all year for the Red Sox. But the bats were alive and well there, and the Guardians somehow still battling for a postseason berth here. That should be an interesting game today, too, as well.
Cubs had a good one yesterday with the Atlanta Braves, 7-6 final. Walk-off in 10 innings for those Chicago Cubs. You look at the starting pitchers in this one, Spencer Strider, 5 innings pitched, 3 runs given up. So he said it's an okay start. Only 1 strikeout in that game. Very un-Spencer Strider-like, trying to get back to that rotation that we saw him dominating just years previous before that arm injury. Ray wasn't that great. 4 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. Didn't get a lot of help from his defense, but the Cubs win one here, trying to track down the Brewers, which they probably won't, but staying in that playoff race. The Braves just playing at the string right now.
Yeah, I mean, Strider he was good enough early, but then again, the bullpen of the Braves came in, and that's where the damage came in because he left that game with a lead, and the bullpen comes in and once again allows the Cubs to get back in it. So we keep waiting for the Cubs bats to come alive again, but I'm not sure they're going to do it consistent enough to be even in the conversation in the postseason.
Bottom of the lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies was fantastic yesterday. Needed every single run they could get. A 10-8 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers, which lining up this game, okay, Taijuan Walker's on the mound. What's he going to give you? 4 innings pitched, 5 earned runs. So that shine is off of the, let's just say, gold watch for him this season. Mizorowski, 4 1/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, but the bullpen on both sides kept giving it back to each team. The Phillies just were the better team and more clutch down the stretch. A great game by Brandon Marsh, a great game by Harrison Bader, and also saw Bryce Harper get the Phillies into the game with a solo home run. 10-8 Phillies, maybe the game of the day. They needed that victory to stay ahead of the New York Mets. There you go. Best team in baseball. Brewers lose 1 at home.
Yeah, and it was a big game. It was going to be interesting to see Phillies playing Sunday night baseball, right? Having to go there, play an afternoon game in Milwaukee, and voila, they get it done.
They get the job done. Other scores across the Major League Baseball landscape yesterday. The Orioles 4-3 over the Padres. The Padres got a big injury in their bullpen. Never want to see that happen. And the Rays and the Mariners. The Rays played 10 runs. I thought that game would go over yesterday, Joe. Not because of the pitchers, just because of the ballpark here. And it did. Tampa busted out the bats yesterday. And Seattle with a whimper with only 2 runs. That's the way it goes down. Let's shape up the divisions and also the leagues themselves. Who's going to win it all? Joe and Donnie, we got you covered next on the early line.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Hopefully starting in 2027, where I think the schedule could just completely get blown up, which would be so exciting for the fans, the players. So there's interesting things that I've heard that that would be like one of the first things that could say that people are talking about, and that things could really get changed up a little bit.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Good news, bad news, but it's the same problem when they created this problem come draft day, right? We all knew you got too many quarterbacks. It's as simple as that. Unless one guy absolutely stinks, then you still have too many quarterbacks because you still got Deshaun Watson, who's eligible to come off the IR this season if they really want to go down that road again.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Donnie right side, Joe Ranieri, the early line right here on the SportsGrid Network on a Tuesday morning, setting the table for your SportsGrid day as we always do, but also look aheads here. What could happen next? Look, we know you're focused on college football and the NFL this Thursday night. I'm a huge Eagles fan. I can't wait for the Eagles to pace the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night. But before we get there, looking at the postseason in Major League Baseball is still a lot of fun. We saw a tweet come up here, Joe, from Sportsnet that said if the Major League Baseball postseason started today, which was dated August 30th, here's what we would be looking at. Number 1 seed in the National League would be the Milwaukee Brewers. The number 2 seed, the Philadelphia Phillies. Other teams in the playoffs, Mets, Dodgers, Padres, and Cubs. In the American League, Joe, top seed there will be the Detroit Tigers. 2 seed would be the Toronto Blue Jays. And then have the Seattle Mariners, the Houston Astros, the Boston Red Sox, and the New York Yankees. And by the way, Sox, Yankees, wild card round number 1. Fantastic if that was the case. But I'm going to ask you this question. Tigers, Jays, Phillies, Brewers. Are those going to be the top 4 seeds?
I think what you see is what you get here, Donnie. I just don't see teams like, the Reds or the Royals making some sort of crazy comeback. I think it's just a matter of the teams that you mentioned there in what order. Am I convinced that Toronto wins the American League East? Absolutely not. Is Detroit going to win the Central? Yes. Is it going to be a battle for the West in the American League? Not if Seattle keeps playing the way they're playing. It'll be a runaway situation for Houston. So I don't see a whole lot of surprises happening down the stretch here. It's just a matter of the order in which they finish, Donnie.
It's crazy, too, because you look, again, the Mariners and the Houston Astros fighting each other for that top supremacy here. And if it winds up being that way in the playoffs, that's an interesting matchup. But I got to tell you, I would love Sox, Yankees on one side, Mets, Dodgers on the other for the wild card rounds here, man. That would be fantastic to watch you play out. But let's take a look at some of those AL odds here as it breaks down, because we're telling you right now the Tigers are the top seed right now. The Blue Jays number 2. Why? Because they're division leaders at this point. You look at the Tigers, a plus 320 price to win the American League, followed by the Blue Jays plus 390, and the Yankees at a 4-1 price. Mariners, Astros, and Red Sox after them. All tightly contested here, Joe. Would the Tigers still be getting your money? Or is there a team that say, you know what? I think we're getting underpriced markets here from the Sox, the Astros, the Mariners, Yankees, or the Jays here.
Yeah, I'm not buying Detroit. I've never bought Detroit as being your American League pennant winner there. I think it's going to come down to old school. It's going to be Yankees. It's going to be Red Sox there. And, maybe, I don't know. To me, it's those 2 teams. It's going to be, if it ain't broke, don't fix. Been a while since we had a battle to the finish between the Yankees and Red Sox. I think it's exactly what the doctor ordered for Major League Baseball this year.
Flip it over to the National League, Joe, as we talk about like the top teams, right? The Los Angeles Dodgers plus 185 price to win the pennant. The Milwaukee Brewers plus 380. The Phillies at a plus 430 price. Followed by the Padres, Cubs, and the Mets. When I look at that Brewers team, I get more intrigued on a day-to-day basis. Now, Mizrachi doesn't look like he's going to be that unbelievable rookie gem that nobody can hit down the stretch. He's having his struggles as rookies do after a very hot start. But the one thing I can't deny the Brewers, Joe, we've never talked about the Brewers' bats as something you have to watch out for. Yeah, they lost yesterday. They still scored 8 runs against the Phillies. Like, this team is really good where that plus 380 price starts to say they're no longer like the little engine that could. This is a really good baseball team. And if they do get anywhere near the hitting that they've been getting in the summer, there's a legitimate chance that the Brewers wind up in the World Series, Joe.
Still my choice there. Yeah. And obviously the price for the Dodgers is laughable here at this point. But, they're the champions until somebody beats them. But we have seen the Brewers do it on a number of occasions this year, playing their style of baseball, which is hit the cutoff man, take the extra base, hit runners over. What a shock here. So, I still like the Brewers, and the Phillies experience, not that far behind as far as I'm concerned.
No, take a look there at the World Series odds, Joe. No surprise, once again, it's the Dodgers plus 310 for the Brewers and then the Phillies in line. That's 3 National League teams, Joe, before we hit 3 American League teams in the Tigers, Yankees, and the Blue Jays. So the Dodgers are the favorites here. If I just said which league would you take, forget about the odds. Would it just be the National League?
They should be the favorite, but anything can happen. We know that. But it should be the National League has much better, I think, chances, teams that have chances of running the table than I think the American League.
It does. I agree with you there. Like the Dodgers, if they get hot with that frontline pitching and Shohei Ohtani, the Brewers have been fantastic this season. The Phillies, if those bats come around, and that, by the way, even without looking at a starting pitcher down, one of your best in Major League Baseball, and Zach Wheeler, Luzardo has stepped up. Sanchez has stepped up. Suarez is back. It's a pretty good team here. That'll do it for hour number 1. Hour number 2 next. Let's focus on the NFL and get after it, people. Joe and Donnie in the morning.